Your first year in insurance will make or break you. Here's how to survive it and actually set yourself up for a six-figure career. Hey guys, it's Enku with Freedom Code, and for those of you guys that do not know, I was an insurance agent turned in sales leader that helped scale a team to over 52 agents and over 35 million in team sales. Together, we helped 18 agents scale over 100,000, and many of them were able to do multiple six figures. And I'm just here to help you guys and share some of the tips and secrets that helped me scale my agency so that, again, you guys don't have to run into those same mistakes. So first and foremost, why is the first year the most dangerous for your career? So we've all heard the statistics. We know the high churn rates that insurance has to offer, but that first year is where you really start to see the framework of how your insurance career will shape up. And more specifically, I like to fine tune it to the first 3 months. So whether you're working remote, whether you're selling life insurance, final expense, health insurance, Medicare, ACA, it's all going to be under the same umbrella of why that first year is so pivotal to your success. The first year you're coming in, you are at the mercy of your agency. Now, it sounds harsh, but when you think about it, you probably don't have leads. You don't have many people that you can, go through a phone book and call. You don't have your system set up. They might have you do an online training platform, but you're really at that point at the mercy of the agency. Now, if it's a strong agency and they have proven SOPs and they have a proven system of doing things where they've duplicated results, then your, level of success, or at least the resources that you need to get to that point, are going to be much easier than if you're coming in and the top guy in the entire firm is, making 150,000 or 300,000 a year, but he's been there 30 years or 40 years. And I'm sure we've all seen that. If you haven't, there are a lot of agencies out there that are not making the money that they would like to from their agency, and that trickles all the way down to the agents. And so the first thing that you want to establish when you walk in is that, hey, how many people are in this building or in the company are making real money? And then to piggyback off of that, how many of them are, not to say newer, but we don't want to take 30 years. I mean, if it took us 30 years to, make money, then we could just go get a 9-to-5, go work a normal job and put our money in the S&P or put our money in our 401k, and in 30 years, you'd be a millionaire. But that's not the main reason why people get into insurance or they get into selling insurance, is they know they can change their financial future within a few years. And so if no one in that firm is making the 100,000 or the 200,000 or the 500,000 that they're marketing, then it's not going to be a strong chance that you're going to be one of those people, because they have not implemented those same resources to duplicate onto another agent. So they're recruiting for mass and not for quality. And the second thing is the trap of expecting instant income and how to pace yourself financially. So I've seen this hundreds of times in my agency that I used to run, where agent comes in, agent is waiting for their license to clear. They'll pass off a few deals and they're on top of the world. They're like, oh my God, this is way easier than I thought. I'll be at 100K in no time. Well, eventually they get their license, they start selling on their own, and they start realizing, hey, maybe it's not as easy. Maybe appointments are ghosting you, or just going through the mental hurdles of any sales job, but specifically insurance sales. So you were on top of the world as a runner, and now you just can't seem to, as the athletes would say, find a bucket. And that is why when you're going into the role of insurance, it's important to always see if you can shadow someone that has been a top producer before, so that you could soak up not only all of the things they do well, but how to shortcut a lot of the time where maybe they were not doing well. If you're looking at it and you're like, all right, so I got to make $100,000 a year, or that's my goal at least. I've never made $100,000 before, similar to my situation. When I first started, I had never made $100,000 in any occupation, let alone insurance. And so when I first jumped into the industry, the first thing was like, okay, how are they saying they're making $100,000? Well, first thing they're doing is they're just saying, okay, when you first come on board, your goal, just like any goal, is you're not going to write down 100,000 and then just start chalking it away. You want to make $1,000 a week. That is the consistent goal of, once you're able to master that, $1,000 a week, quick math, it's about $52,000 a year pre-tax. Now, if you double that, you're averaging $2,000 a week in your commission check. That puts you on pace for $100,000. So now in my head, if I'm like, okay, well, $2,000 times 52, $104,000. Now I know I'm on pace for a six-figure income. What that also allows you to do is that not every week is going to be 2,000. Some weeks might be less, some weeks might be more. But if you are keeping track, just like any goal that you're setting, month in and month out of the income that you're bringing home, then not only can you see when you're doing well, you can also see what you're not doing well, cross-reference it, and then see where the issues lie if you're not making a consistent $2,000 a week, eventually week over week. And so that's number 2, is tracking your week to week average, how many appointments it's taking you, how many deals it's taking you to get to that goal, and then reverse engineer it to make sure that you're doing that consistently to put you on pace for a 6-figure income. Now, the third thing, building your lead pipeline before you run out of warm contacts. So again, this is another example that I've seen countless amount of times where agent comes in, agent maybe is a few months, in the business, they make a really good check, 3,000-4,000, and a lot of the agents are early 20s, late 30s. Sometimes they're older when they start, but that's typically the average. Is they blow the check. They're ordering more Uber Eats, they're going out more, they're just blowing their money. They're buying a new car, or they're thinking about buying a new car. That's off of 1 or maybe 2 checks that they're blowing this nice check that they have for. Now, what they're doing in that sense is when you blow through your check, you're back at 0. In any commission roll that you're doing, you're back at 0 that next week. And if you don't have at least a 2 to 3 week pipeline of leads that are flowing from one week to another, then you're going to run that pipeline dry in a week, make that record check, and then that following not only week or 2 weeks, you're going to be struggling to make a check. And so when you average it out, you go 5,000, 1,000, 1,500, and then you're back up, 5,000 again. That's not consistent enough for you to really see what the true value of the insurance landscape can be, because you're too up and down for that to really ever be stabilized, even if it does eventually end up averaging out. If you're building your lead pipeline, build it with the intention that it's a 3-week vessel. Eventually that'll pop within one of those weeks where you'll have a higher high than you normally would. This is a pipeline business. The more leads that you get into your pipeline, the easier your life will be. If you're clocking in 10 calls a day and 5 are showing and you're closing 3 or 2, that's the name of the game, is to get more people in front of you. And if you're not doing that, or if you're doing it all one week for it to, to stop doing it the next week, or to not work on top of the volume that you already have, then you're never going to be successful in the insurance business, because you're going to go up, then you're going to go back down. You're going to go up, you're going to go back down. So that's number 3, is structuring your lead pipeline in 3-week intervals. Your pipeline typically lasts 2 to 3 weeks, keeping that flowing, keeping your actions high, keeping the SMS and the follow-up drips high, so that pipeline, unless you're out on vacation or it's Christmas, that should never be the reason as to why you're running out of leads. Because if your system is already running, you're not going to turn the car off on the highway. The next thing we have is structuring your day for consistency, not just busyness. And so again, the most important thing that you can do when you're running through and prospecting insurance leads is the first 4 hours of the day, whether you're on the East Coast or whether you're on the West Coast. The day starts at 8 a.m. East Coast. So unfortunately, if you guys are on the West Coast, that's 5 a.m. That's how we used to start. And you're typically working in 4-hour blocks to prospect in the morning. The reason you want to prospect in the morning is because sometimes you'll get same day appointments. So when I would come in as an agent, the first 4 hours of the day would be spent. Sometimes there would be appointments, but they would be closer to the 11-12 p.m. on Pacific time. 3 p.m. Eastern time is typically when those appointments would be. So I would still have enough ample time for those first 3 to 4 hours a day to be spent on, again, building that pipeline, doing more outreach, making more calls, making more text messages, sending more emails. Afterwards, I would, maybe dedicate 30 minutes to customer service, maybe take a lunch break that's 30 minutes, an hour, leave the building, come back. If you're working from home, just leaving the home, leaving your house so you're not going insane. And those are all the consistency pattern all buys into the pipeline as well. The same way that you would keep your pipeline consistent and full with consistent actions is the same way that you would do for your schedule, right? If you're coming in one day late, one day you're coming in early, then nothing is ever going to be able to be traced for you to realize what you're doing well, what you're not doing well. Because if you're averaging 2,000 hours a week, but you want to get to 3 or 4 to get you deeper into that 6 figures, the number one thing is consistency in your schedule. That's the first thing you're going to have to clear up. You're going to have to put more actions in to reach out to more people, to fill in the pipeline, to get more people in front of you. The next thing, and this took me a few months to actually put together as well, is the role of mentorship and feedback in avoiding rookie mistakes. I did this, I would say, to a fault when I was an agent, is I had a mentor at the time. He had gone through all the ringers, and everything he was doing was simplifying the process, which as a new agent was good. But as someone that is very over analytical, it began to look for more direction and look for more answers from not only my mentor, but other people as well. What this does is sometimes you end up taking advice from some of the wrong agents. Lo and behold, that's something that I did, and that was part of the early reason that I had struggled early on. Again, mentorship is good and feedback is good, but the one thing that you can do is limit that to the point where you see two people that you know are clearing $400,000 a year. Go sit behind those two people. They might have different styles, but take away information from those two people because they are where you want to be. If those people are not in your company, again, that goes back to the first couple bullet points that we had, but that is overall a sign that they're either a new company or that you might not want to be with a company that doesn't have that high of a ceiling. And so shadowing their scripts, how they overcome objections, how they deal with certain questions regarding urgency when it comes to the close, how they follow up, become a sponge when they are explaining those materials to you. Some agents that have hit those marks don't like to give away secrets. If that's your situation, then I would say maybe seek outside mentorship, even outside of your company, to see how they could be, helping you in that sense. But I would say the role of mentorship and feedback, it's just saving you time. It's just saving you, sometimes it's days, weeks, months, years, by maybe a sentence or two that you never thought that you actually needed in that time. So far, we have, again, understanding the intricacies of why the first year can be the most dangerous for you, understanding how to pace yourself throughout the year, so $2,000 a week is a six-figure income, building your lead pipeline, so not getting too high on one week, not getting too low on one week, but continuing to fuel the engine. Structuring your day for consistency, so making sure the same way that you plug in with your pipeline is the same way that you would do so with your schedule. Again, mentorship, feedback, that is key, but do not take information from everybody because, again, that is where you end up with a bunch of information, not knowing what to do with it. The last two that we have is protecting your energy is as important as making calls. And so what I mean by that is that if you ever seen the videos of the most successful people are usually the most in shape, or they have a morning routine, or they have all these intricacies. It's not that complicated, but if you want to be a successful insurance agent, you have to surround yourself with like-minded insurance agents. It seems simple, but that includes your friends. That includes sometimes your family members that are not on the same timeline as you. When I first started in the insurance business, I didn't have many supporters or friends that seeing eye to eye of where I was at. A lot of them didn't expect me to be where I was at. It didn't really matter because I had a bigger picture in mind. And lo and behold, now when I reach out to those same friends, they're, happy for the success that I've had. Now we can look back and say, wow, it was really worth it for you to lock in during that year or 2 years that you were alienated or you alienated yourself, I guess you could say. If that's what it takes, if people do not see the same wavelength as you, I can't tell you how many times in the business with agents that could have been superstars, but the spouse, wife or husband came in and intervened for whatever reason. Maybe they're not spending as much time. Guys, it's not easy to make 100,000. It's not easy to make 200. It's not easy to make 500. It's not easy to make any of the levels of income that we want to make that is above a six-figure income in the insurance business. And that does come with sacrifices, and that does come with a strong support system. Without that, really any of these tips that we're putting in place for you are going to be very difficult to apply if you're going home and you're having to fight another battle as well, on top of the sales that you may or may not be closing. And then the last thing here, as far as the blueprint to survive your first year in insurance, is creating a plan to retain every single client that you close, whether that's a Google business page, whether that's social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, any of these social media platforms where as soon as they get closed, they're getting follow-up sequence messages about leaving a review. Now you're building an email list as well as a client list of people that could potentially not only stay on your books, anytime there's a problem, they know who to reach out to. But like any business, if you have an issue with something, you go to the agent or you go to the rep or you go onto the customer service and you handle the service that needs to be done. The better that process is done and the more that you feel is accomplished in that exchange, the longer they're going to stay on the books. An average client usually should stay on the books for at least 2.5 years. If you're starting to see clients fall off a lot sooner than that, more consistently, then it's really something in that process that you're doing where they are buying insurance but not the agent, right? So make sure that they're buying both, and that will ensure that you're retaining every single client that you keep, or at least almost every client, because people are always going to cancel due to changes in circumstance. At the end of the day, guys, frame survival in year one as the foundation for your next 5 years. So if you map out how you're going to succeed in year one, then you will not become that statistic of the 92% of agents that do not make it past year one. Again, guys, if you guys like content like this, again, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to book a strategy session here, please click the link down below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you guys very soon.